Early start this morning, 6 o'clock, and yes, we've got a little bit longer to go today, and we've not been averaging particularly good speeds, sort of just about hitting 5 knots. We've got about half a knot of current against us. Might have to push it a little bit more today, and we're going over the Tip of Borneo as well. Oops, no, I shouldn't say that, should I? Because that gives away our location. So anyway, we're going off basically. So let's wake up, innit? Oh, did I mention our LCD displays? Our 2 repeaters in the cockpit have both gone at exactly the same time, displaying exactly the same errors. Well, I'll show you. Basically the LCD, the crystal itself is going on it. We can just about read them. Typical, isn't it? Update, just chugging along here. The only thing really to report is that we are making much better progress today. The last couple of days were a little bit sluggish, but we were lucky to hit 5 knots, and today it's quite different. We seem to have half a knot of current with us. So normally there is a set current that runs from west to east across the South China Sea, but I'm not entirely convinced now that that's all year round, because with the northeasterly, it seems as if there's potentially a bit of current running the other way, or it could simply be tidal. We left an hour earlier today, and obviously with the tides being an hour after yesterday's tide, perhaps we've got a bit more of the current running with us. But look, you can see at the moment the sea state is not too bad at all. Beautiful scenery, and probably another 6 hours to go before our next destination, and that is where we meet up with everyone else. And there's going to be 5 boats beginning this journey, and one boat we don't know. They've come down from elsewhere and will be joining us at our next destination.
So we're going around the Tip of Borneo for the 100th time as we get halfway through day 3. Lovely and flat today, and normally when you go around some kind of cape, even a mini cape like this, you expect a lot of disturbed water, but we're really lucky that it's just lovely and flat. Also, the fishermen have decided to stop and have a break, so they're all at anchor behind us, so there's not too much traffic on the water. So it's so far so good, a pretty easy morning of it. Got probably another, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours to go to our destination, and then we can relax because we're going to stay there for 2 nights, get a few jobs done, and then set off on the big adventure. Woohoo!
Well, we just had fun and games avoiding a fishing boat trawling his net, coming down at a funny angle to us. Why can't they ever motor in a straight line or in the direction we're going in, eh? Anyway, this is the first time we've had to negotiate fishing boats in probably years, and we should of course be expert at this by now, but keeps you on your toes on an otherwise pretty flat, calm motor across the bay here. But this incident clearly inspired Liz with her fishing reel, because she has a special lure she's got out. I have to show you this because it's matching.
New lure, it's by a company called Zerek. Not used them before, but it looks pretty good, and it's the right colour. Don't usually use pink, but pink seems to be the colour of the moment, so we're going to give it a go.
It was interesting, just saw a change in the appearance of the water, which can mean one of two things, either current or wind, sometimes both of course, but yeah, it was current. We went through a whole load of gunge and muck and rubbish, and as soon as we hit it, the boat veered to starboard, and I've just checked, we now have 1.3 knots of current against us. And I guess this is because up until this point we've been in the lee of this island and the current's coming down. Well, we're trying to get around the corner, and obviously this has slowed us down. I did wonder why we appeared to be catching up with Icy Red, who had overtaken us earlier. Well, we're in our anchorage now. We just came through an island and a reef. You can see the reef just there. It's about 200 metres wide, so plenty of space, even so. But Liz took the opportunity to put her line out. Sadly, she hasn't caught anything. Well, it's been a day of doing stuff. For me, mainly video editing. By the time you see this, I think we'll have already explained in the podcast how we're going to be a little bit limited for time when it comes to editing episodes. But we're going to continue with the podcast at least, hopefully. Liz, meanwhile, true to her word, has spent the whole day on her fishing rods. All I've heard is cursing, swearing, banging and screaming. And the reason why I'm recording this now is I think maybe over my shoulder you could possibly see the Bajau Laut. Now, we've talked about these guys extensively before. These are also known as the sea gypsies. Previously, we were very accommodating to them. And if you remember our time in Bohai Dulang, we actually went out to go and visit them and to distribute gifts to them. We have, however, been told on a number of occasions by local people that you shouldn't really do this. And the main reason is because you encourage them to come back. And if you remember that incident we had a few months ago when we had this guy come over and try and steal from our boat after showing a decent amount of generosity towards him. That's an example of how once you give once, you kind of they're expecting you to just always give. So this time around, sadly, for today at least, we've said no. We've waved and smiled and said hello and then said goodbye very quickly.
Hello! Hello!
Who's that, Liz?
It's our friends, ESSCOM. Don't think any of them were here last time we were here, but they all look so similar in their uniforms. They're so friendly, just come past, see how we are, what we're doing, who we are. They took photos earlier. I'm pretty sure they're going to know this boat. It's fairly straightforward to you and me. So, beginning of the ESSCOM adventure, part 2. What's going on?
The membrane on the sink waste pump has gone. Yesterday when we were motoring, I think the switch must have got knocked, and so it had been running, and when we dropped the anchor, I don't know how long it had been running for, but anyway, what happens is these plates, these rubber plates, after a while they split, and it has split just there. So fortunately I think we have a spare. In fact, we've got spare pumps, so I could swap the whole pump, but we have got a kit. So it's really just a case of changing that membrane without having to take out the whole pump unit.
What time are we off in the morning?
Well, we're up at 5, I suppose. Start the engine running at 5:30. And how long is it?
40 miles, 8 hours, something like that.
It's gonna be a long day.
Yeah, long day. So you felt it was important to do this tonight?
Well, of course, the other thing is that obviously this goes out to the outside, and if there's a leak in it and you get a siphon, then it could potentially just keep drawing water back in. So unless you shut off the seacock, which renders the sink useless, it's probably best just to replace it and get it sorted now rather than leaving it for another day. Just think, 15 years ago when I hit these kind of jobs, I'd be cursing and swearing and finding excuses not to do it, but now it's just get on with it, fix it, so that you don't have to worry about it tomorrow.
Well done, you are my hero.
Oh, thank you very much.
Ooh.
It's a glorious morning. What a good start. So now we have left with 4 boats in tail. So there's 4 boats behind us, hopefully. We haven't heard anyone on the radio yet. Fortunately, the sea is quite flat. There is some wind. It's only about 7 knots and it's very close. It's not quite on the nose, but just perhaps a little bit too close. However, we've got the staysail and the mizzen out just to give us a little bit of speed and a bit more stability. But yeah, beautiful morning. I just need my coffee.
So here we are, day 1, official day 1, on our way to our next destination. And look, our old friends are back. That's ESSCOM. That's 2 boats we've got escorting us at the moment, which is fantastic. We weren't expecting it, but having them here always gives us a warm feeling in our hearts. It's really great to see them again.
It gets a little complicated, this next bit, where there is a designated passage, presumably for bigger traffic, which takes you outside a lot of these reefs, but we're going to be sticking close into land, and it looks quite intimidating. But of course we have done this before. I have the waypoints from before, but there is a certain point at which you are literally doing this. Can't hear that. Don't know who's chatting there. We've tried getting the sails out, and well, as usual, the wind is on the nose. It keeps switching, so I'm trying to get the staysail out, but it keeps backing. So we expected this, didn't we? We knew there was going to be quite a bit of motoring to start with, but we keep our fingers crossed and hope that that wind returns to some kind of northeasterly, which will allow us to have the wind on the beam and broad reaching.